The popularity of Vice President Kamala Harris has been falling. And can this be attributed to the fact that she is a Black woman holding the highest office in America, which is the Vice President's office? Or is it because she has just failed to deliver on her mandate as the Vice President? Hello guys, how are you doing? Welcome again to another session of our conversations. My name is Ondiro Oganga. I am a business journalist by profession and a digital content creator. And I love more than anything coming on here and talking to you guys about matters Africa, Black people, our empowerment, and how we can rise and take our rightful place at the global stage. Now, it's nothing new and it's not news that the popularity of Vice President Kamala Harris has been falling over the last year. Last year, news hit the headlines on different networks that her popularity was at an all-time low. Voters did not find her appealing, particularly major voting blocks. For example, Black people did not find her as appealing, as convincing, and as efficient and effective as they had hoped that she would be. Remember, during the campaign period, she packaged and presented herself as a Black person, and she is a Black person. She has Black heritage and Indian heritage, and so it was only right for PR, for politics, and also who she is to leverage on that and make it part of her campaign, you know. And when she jumped on the Democratic ticket with President Joe Biden, people thought it was an opportunity for representation. Obviously, Joe Biden is an old white man, and I mean, there are enough of those everywhere. They had politics, they had corporate America, and it was just a breath of fresh air to have somebody that represented other communities be a part of that ticket, you know. Her gender notwithstanding, I think her color played a really big role in ensuring that President Biden secured a huge block of Black voters. It's also important to know that Biden has his own block of Black voters that he was able to leverage on. Now, ever since Vice President Kamala Harris took office, it has just been going down and down and down. She has not lived up to the expectation. But then again, it's very important to remember that the office of the Vice President is almost a ceremonious office. Do not offend anyone, put out fires, and always make your boss look good. And it's almost like Kamala has been struggling to find where she fits. And, you know, as the days go by, it's almost like people are seeing through who she is and the fact that she did not have a lot to offer, particularly to Black people, or it's just that office and that system is not designed in a way that can enable her and all the attributes that she brings on board to be able to work as she would like to, or as people who voted for her would like to. And this is a conversation that was brought up on The View. And, you know, of late, The View has been having very controversial takes on the internet. And so when the issue came up, two very contradictory thoughts came up. One side thinks, oh, this is just a racism issue. And another thinks that Vice President Kamala Harris has failed to deliver and live up to the mandate of the office of the Vice President. Let's listen to Alisa Farah first.
Well, I'll get right in there. So listen, the Vice President, when she came on the ticket in 2020, I was thinking game over. She is a rock star. I'd seen her in Senate hearings, super effective, saw that prosecutor side of her come out. And listen, they won. She helped deliver female voters, Black voters for the president. It's her time in office that I take a bit of issue with. And having worked for a vice president, you kind of have two jobs. Do no harm and try to keep a higher approval rating than your principal. She's not really been able to do either, and I feel like she hasn't broken through on major policy accomplishments. And she will, fairly or unfairly, be the most scrutinized vice president in history because she's running with the oldest oldest president running for president.
And she's also a Black.
I think to a large extent, I would like to agree with Farah, because if you're in such an office, at least there should be policies that you should spearhead, implement, and people should be able to see the impact of these policies. Unfortunately, some of the policies that have been given to Kamala Harris are not policies that would put her in good books or would bolster her standings in Black and minority communities. I get it, she's at the forefront of Roe versus Wade, but that is a very broad and national agenda, and it does very little. And to some extent, I mean, America right now is divided in pro and those who are pro-life and those who are for abortion. It might go a long way in swaying some female voters because of the stand that she's taking, but a majority of the Black voters still feel like nothing has been given to them that is of substance. However, Sunny Hostin had a very different view. Now, Sunny is one of the ladies in the seat of the View, and Sunny has never refrained from calling out things as she sees and as she perceives them. And to Sunny, this is outrightly racism. Listen to her.
And she's also a Black woman.
But I think you have to be able to fairly critique the vice president of the United States without just saying it's the color of their skin or the fact she's a woman.
But it is part of it.
Why? What makes you say that?
Well, we're in the United States of America.
But like with someone like me saying it, do you think I could have a legitimate policy of
No, it's not you. It's just we're in the United States of America, and Black women, and this is just not me saying it. I mean, there have been studies. Black women are considered less articulate. They are considered uglier. They are considered all of these things
beautiful, I would,
by this country, and it's because of the history, of course, of misogyny and
But it's also
sexism.
just women. I mean, Jerry Ferraro, back in the day, ran for vice president, and they went after her too.
And that's the misogyny part. But when you mix the
Barbara
misogyny
Bush
and
called
the
her a name.
racism,
I'm sorry.
it's extra. It's a little extra. But I understand why they are boosting her at this point, and they want to boost her because no Democratic nominee can win the general election without the Black vote. I mean, that is just a fact. And when she became the vice presidential candidate, I have a picture of all the women from the Divine Nine strolling to vote because of her.
Right.
And so I think that she probably, in many respects, won that election for him. And so Black voters saved his campaign in 2020. They could also be why he loses it in 2024. And so that makes a lot of sense. Now, in terms of doing harm or I mean, Vice President Pence, no shade, but I mean, I think
a lot of shade. Come on, there's a lot of shade.
There's some shade. I mean,
go for it. What do you do? What's it?
I'm trying to be a little even-handed. I mean, he was responsible for the administration's COVID response, and we know how well that went.
Well, but real quick on that, I could off the top of my head list 3 major accomplishments of Vice President Pence. The U.S.-Mexico agreement, our trade policy that was negotiated.
Who are you talking about now?
Vice President Pence.
Oh, Pence.
Operation Warp Speed, which love or hate the COVID response, we all have the vaccine now, and that's a good thing. And he did get Republicans' tax reform. I know as Democrats you don't think those are wins, but those are things that he accomplished. I struggle with the Vice President. Why is she not front and center on Dobbs? Why hasn't she given a major speech
Well, she
on
has.
She is.
Well,
the
what she said
but she is the one who's going to go after these anti-abortion people, which is really the crucial element and why the Republicans will lose again.
Well, I have never lived the reality that Sunny and other Black women have lived in America, but sometimes I think it would be unfair to just oversimplify issues and say, oh, this is a racism issue. It could be a racism issue, but I feel like if you keep playing the card, then you oversimplify the significance of race. Kamala Harris is not just a helpless woman. She has worked in the public service. She is acclaimed. She has her own accolades. She's not helpless. And in as much as the system is deliberately designed against Black people, I do not think that Kamala Harris is helpless. I just think maybe the people that are surrounding her and maybe the Democratic Party and the agenda that they have for her is not as clear. And that's why they're not putting her in places where she can actually shine. And also it would be tricky to allow her to shine because Joe Biden is having problems of his own in terms of leading the country, in terms of healthcare, in terms of people questioning whether he's in the right physical and mental state to vie again. And so I can understand why the party is almost deliberately putting Kamala Harris in the shadow, or Kamala is doing the damage herself. But I think the race card here is overplaying their hand. Let me know what you think. Bert, one other lady of the View had something else to say. Listen to this.
The thing about the vice presidency is it is riddled with, it's a losing job. It's always been a second spot that gets the hardest.
Not for Cheney.
No,
Not for Cheney.
Because he was actually the president.
He was
Yeah, but-
President Cheney.
Yeah, but he was like, it was like a behind the scenes type of thing, and they hid him away with good reason probably. But
Not enough.
it's a hard job. It is always ridiculed. But my issue actually, and I I understand what you're saying, Sunny, about there's definitely no way to look at this without adding sexism and racism to a lot of people that probably take issue with her. I'm not erasing that. As someone who also has a hard time listening to her do speeches because she has this tendency, they call it the word salad, but where she starts to almost, I don't know if she's going off script and ad-libbing or improving, and if that's the case, she needs to stay on script. If it's her speechwriter, they need to change the speechwriter, because when you're 2 years in, they need to protect her more.
Yeah, the clip.
Well, I don't need to go to, I was using that clip to show, and I think everyone's seen it. When she starts to, well, we'll just show the clip then. It's
the significance of the passage of time. Right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time.
We got to take this stuff seriously as you are, because you have been forced to have to take it seriously.
During Women's History Month, we celebrate and we honor the women who made history throughout history.
She's reading a prompter.
If she's reading a prompter, they need to immediately fix that. You are the Vice President of the United States. The administration and the president are responsible for protecting her.
Well, I would add that as a lawyer, you're generally told when you're speaking that you speak in threes, because that's what people remember. So if you're going to talk about a car, you talk about the car, the red car, the fast red car. So I think what you just
But you don't
saw
use the definition in the word in the definition.
You do. So I think a part of that is that. But again, you know, we can't compare her with the likes of Pence.
No, there's enough criticism to go
Sarah
around.
Palin,
Can I get
Dan
in here?
Quayle.
Yeah, go ahead.
Many instances, we haven't seen Kamala Harris come out and just be coherent with what she's saying. It's always repeating herself, and it's technically a word salad. She doesn't make sense. She doesn't come out and say anything concrete, you know. It's just jargon and repetition and going on and on and on. And it's almost like she's trying to appeal to the heart and the emotion of people. But you're a leader in office. We look to you for policies. We look to you for laws. We look for you for direction, leadership, governance. We are not looking to you for motivation. And it's the same thing even when she came to Africa. When she came here, unlike other countries that come here and they have a very clear agenda, her agenda was to reduce and minimize the impact of China and the influence that China is building on the continent. But first of all, she came empty-handed and was equipped with rhetoric saying America is a friend of Africa. I don't care if we're friends. I just want good terms of doing business. I want diplomacy. I don't want you shoving your beliefs down my throat and calling yourself my friend. I want democracy where you respect my views and I respect your views, you know. She was talking about the way America believes in women empowerment and all that. That doesn't help unless you are saying you're going to invest or you're going to hold accountable business that entities that come here on the continent to do business, that they must uphold a certain quota of employees to meet gender equality. Then we are talking. But if you just come here and talk about what you think and what you believe, it's technically a word salad. And so while maybe the party and politics and race might have played a card, I generally think that Kamala Harris has also done some damage to herself single-handedly. And all these factors come together. Some of the reasons why her ratings are falling, and now, you know, the White House is looking to, you know, work on her image. I don't know how they're going to do that. Probably put her out there a lot more, get her to talk to people, and maybe probably give her something that she can work on and champion for that will appeal to masses that influence voting in the country. Let me know what you think. Why do you think the popularity of Kamala Harris is diminishing, and your thoughts on the White House deciding that it's time they do something to bolster her ratings? I'll see you again next time.